This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 641 with Ed Sullivan, recorded on April 3rd, 2025. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way in your home, and sometimes outside of your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. Spring is great in Bellevue, by the way. Of course, we'll post the show with some world-class show notes, and Ed has provided me some great links tonight. So you're going to want to make sure you check out the show notes out at the AverageGuy.tv. Big thanks to our Patreon subscribers. You guys keep us supported every single month. Appreciate you doing that. If you want to join that team, you can head out to the AverageGuy.tv/Patreon. Then a big thanks to those of you clicking through on the AverageGuy.tv, the affiliate link that's there for Amazon. If you're going to purchase there, just click through the link. Costs you nothing, and I appreciate that as well. Big thanks to Gavin Campbell, who joined me last week. He's always great to have on the program. So, Gavin, thanks for coming on. Ed, welcome.
Well, thank you. It's a thrill, as always, to be here, Jim.
Yeah, it's always great to be with you. Full disclosure, we get to spend some time on Sundays chatting, which is always super fun, and I appreciate that. Thanks for hanging out with me.
You've probably heard most of this already, but
no, actually, we never really went into the details while we've been chatting. So some of this is going to be new to me, which I really appreciate. Ed, so I was looking up shows. I don't know what made me think of this, but I was like, I wonder who the guest we had the last time. It was an April 3rd show. So I went back, and it took a while. It took all the way back to 2014, but the guest is kind of significant to what we're talking about because this particular guest is big in the Tesla space. And of course, tonight we're talking about, you did something different. Who do you think that was, Ed? Any guesses?
That would probably be Paul, maybe?
Yeah, I think Paul Braren was the last one on here way back in 2014. No Tesla yet. No, I don't, right? No Teslas in 2014. Those were just a dream, right? In 2014?
I don't know. Did he have a Model S? I don't know what the first year of the S was.
I wonder. The chat room looked that up for us. What's the first year of a Tesla vehicle being offered or being able to be purchased here in the United States?
I'm pretty sure he didn't have the Roadster, which was the first.
Okay.
But
yeah, April 3rd, 2014, Paul Braren was on here. So, Paul, thanks for doing that. We are, well, before we get started, I do need to make a retraction. Like, this almost never happens in the news anymore. When someone's wrong, Ed, have you seen a retract? Well, first of all, these showed up in newspapers, right? Nobody gets a newspaper anymore. Have you ever seen a retraction of any kind show up anywhere when somebody makes a mistake?
It's been decades since I saw anything like that.
Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we still issue retractions. So after 2 weeks ago when I had Gavin on, very beginning of the show, I made a terrible mistake. So around minute 4, I started talking about the weather and how we had a giant storm come through and the lights had flickered, but the power didn't go down. And I was disappointed that the power didn't go down because I have this new backup generator and I was kind of secretly inside hoping to use it. Well, my neighbor, Chainsaw Josh, that's what we call him, across the street from me. He's a line guy for OPPD, Omaha Public Power District. He spent 6 days working 16 hours a week fixing lines for that storm. He took a little issue to me wishing the power had gone down. So Josh, he's joking, of course, but Josh, I'm terribly sorry. I retract that. I hope that this neighborhood and all the neighborhoods around your service area never lose power again. You got to feel for those line guys, right, Ed?
Except for all the overtime. I mean, that part of it's got to be pretty nice.
That's true. That's true. So, Josh, I'm retracting that. Sorry. He said I didn't need to worry about it. But I know I offended you. I'm sorry. I'll never wish, but I will, that the power never goes, even though it needs to, down any other time. So I can use my generator. Tony checked in. He said, Roadster was 2008. Model S began. John says Model S began. Has it been?
Right.
It's really been that long?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's kind of. I always thought that was like a 2016 or 2015 thing. Okay.
The S was out.
All right.
Pretty early.
It doesn't seem like it's been that long. Ed, we've been kind of. I've been talking this up for a couple weeks now.
Been teasing it, right?
You definitely didn't. You've made a new car choice, and it's not. You traded in your Tesla on something different. Talk a little bit about that. What got you to that decision?
And listen, I made a new car choice that even surprised me, but we'll get there. Yeah, there's no political dimension to my decision to move away from the Tesla. Great car, but the warranty runs out at $50K on those, and sometime around $60K, I had to replace the steering rack for $2,500. Then subsequently, probably around $70K, I had to replace. It was one of the ECUs for the full self-driving, $2,500. And shortly after that, I had to replace the charge port for $500. So I was starting to feel like, this car is starting to cost me money. The other piece of that is, and this may vary depending on where you live in the country, but at least for me, the Tesla service center near me, every appointment's about 3 weeks out. So anytime anything happens, it's kind of, okay, we got to wait 3 weeks. And honestly, it's not in the best location for me either. To get to that service center is kind of a pain in the butt. But, I guess I got the 3 weeks to mentally prepare before I actually can get an appointment.
Before you have to get it. And would you, if you were and you're not a DIY guy, you're not into fixing your own car, but if you were, would you be able to, could you have worked on any of those, do you think, if you weren't? And I mean, is there such thing as a DIY Tesla guy? Does that happen?
Some of them. I think he could certainly do any of those jobs. Steering rack, I don't know what all is involved. You probably definitely need a lift for that.
Yeah.
Aside from the diagnostics part of it, if you knew that one of the computers needed replacing, well, let's unplug it and plug a new one in, right? But it's sort of the diagnostic to get to the point where what you need to replace, right?
Yeah.
Charge port is, I think that one they actually sent somebody out for mobile service, and he was done in 20 minutes. So, I think they're not terrible to work on.
My understanding is they're fairly simple and straightforward in a lot of ways. Not as many parts as as an ICE car, so to speak. Right. John was wondering, what was your battery degradation?
Yeah, so at 80,000 miles, I was still at 94%.
Okay,
so nothing terrible at all.
Yeah. So the next person picking up that car is going to have plenty of battery life. So
I don't think the batteries, they're not turning out to be a big issue on these cars.
Yeah.
You're seeing more and more with 100,000 or even 200,000.
Yeah.
So
the
warranty on that anyway goes out to 8 years. Okay. I guess I think it's 100,000 on those. So whoever gets has still got 20,000 miles warranty.
Yeah. And I think, what do you feel? When you went to sell it, did you take a look at the used car market for what they were going for now? Do you feel like, are they taking a big hit on resale back?
Brutal hit.
Okay.
And I think typically though, EVs, depreciate, even aside from Tesla, depreciate a little bit faster. than other vehicles.
Yeah.
But in the Tesla world, they're down pretty substantially.
Do you think that's, I mean, we don't have a lot of track record. We've got some. I mean, if we've got, 10 or 12 or 15 years of these now, but do we have enough track record to know how long, John says in the chat, he's got 140 on his.
Oh no, he's saying 120K for the battery warranty.
Oh, I got you. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's for the battery. Okay. That's for the battery. Sorry. Do you have any feeling for like, I wonder if we have a feeling how long, you buy a Honda, and even with my Subaru, I'm thinking, man, at 100, I'm just breaking that thing in, so to speak. I got 245,000 miles out of that Honda before Sammy got in the accident. Do you, as a Tesla owner, did you ever feel like you could kind of count on 250,000 miles, or is it just kind of a toss up because of we just don't know?
Yeah, I don't know if I would count on it, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Oh, okay.
You are starting to see some pretty high mileage ones, and maybe if you're getting into that 250,000 miles, then the degradation might be down to 80% of what it was.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I don't think it's a big problem for most people.
Yeah. Well, it's just, and then even if you did need to replace the batteries at some point, I mean, I replaced the batteries in the Honda. Those were $4 or $5 when I think 4 on warranty. I'm sure the Tesla batteries are a little more expensive, but hey, you never did an oil change. So, wrap up that oil change money, right? Or whatever.
Well, listen, the only maintenance I ever had to do was, rotating tires, add some windshield washer fluids, replace the cabin air filter a couple of times. A little bit awkward where they place it, but that's all right.
I took my Subaru in to get the oil changed, and they wanted to replace the cabin filter and the engine filter. The engine filter was $25. The cabin filter was $85. And I'm like, guys, it's just underneath the dash. It's not that hard. Let's not get carried away. So I always have to tell them every time. And they always pull it out and there's leaves in it. I'm like, okay, I'll clean that out when I get home. It's not such a big deal. Right. It sits outside. Mine like yours sits outside. So I get a few leaves in there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Tesla's not that bad. It's just that I'm an old person. And when you're down in the footwell, contorting a little bit, it seemed a bit awkward to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think they're banking. A lot of folks don't even know that there is a cabin filter in there.
Right.
And so I think some folks are like, yeah, just take care of it. And so it's an easy, it's an easy service for them to do. They've already got it pulled out because they're showing you a picture. And I've kind of noticed, Subaru, I don't know what Tesla did, but when I'm taking my Subaru in, I don't even talk to the folks anymore. They check me in, and then everything is via text. So they're like, here's what we found. And do you want any services? And you can just select them on the email. And then either they do them or they don't. And then if you select no, they don't high pressure you, at least at our Subaru dealership.
No, I would say for the work I had done at Tesla, except for the mobile guy who came out to the house, I never talked to the people who did the work. Tesla sometimes can be frustrating because it's very difficult to call the service center and actually get information. Now, having said that, they do a pretty good job of putting all the updates into the app. So that was convenient, I found. But
well, I wonder if, you think of companies like Honda and Toyota and Subaru and such, if they're not learning some of those service lessons. Like I mean, getting my car serviced for the last 20 years has always been the same experience. Take it in, mechanic walks over to you. Hey, we found these things, you should really do this or whatever, a clipboard. And I wonder if Tesla has put a little pressure on the rest of the manufacturers to streamline that service experience and just make it more technically easy. I don't want to talk to those people. I just service it. Let me know what needs to be done. I have some ideas on the services that I want. just let me make the decision. I want to talk to you about it.
Did you just get pictures or videos? I've seen
pictures.
Yeah, some places, depending on what it is, will, be walking around, shooting a video of the underside of the car or whatever the problem area is.
Yeah. One more question before we move on to what you considered for replacement. Did you ever crack the windshield, on the front windshield on your Tesla? Did you ever have to have that replaced?
Jim, I believe you know the answer to that. I did. I don't recall exactly. It was almost 3 months, I think.
To get it replaced?
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, that was COVID time, and that problem was not unique to Tesla at that time, because when I talked to the insurance company about that, they said, lots of manufacturers were having problems with getting replacement glass.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have minded so much, except that the crack was right across my line of sight. And I had to wait months to get it done. Yeah.
Sammy came home the other day and she's like, I was driving behind a truck and I got some chips and I was able to go in. USAA is our insurance. So they'll fix those chips for free. Mm-hmm. So you just go in and schedule it and they come right out. I did my windshield needed to be replaced. By the way, Subaru got busted for putting, and I didn't even know this existed, but windshields that weren't up to like crack standards. I don't know how to they weren't strong enough. And so
disposable ones.
Yeah, there was a class action lawsuit and I'm supposed to get some money back. We'll see how that goes. You know how that kind of stuff goes. But went on the app, SafeLight, they partner with SafeLight. They just come out right out to your place and get those fixed. So, well, I just kind of wondered with the windshields, did you have to go to Tesla to get the windshield replaced, or can a regular windshield service replace them, or did you just not mess with it?
Theoretically, SafeLight does them, but then they tell you should go to Tesla to make sure that the cameras are all aligned properly afterwards. So, I mean, what's the point then in going to SafeLight if then you need to go to Tesla again? Having said that, I know a lot of people that have had SafeLight do it, and the cameras didn't need any. You can recalibrate in the car, and generally that's fine.
They do this all the time. They recalibrate the Subaru sensors too, and it was fine. So good way to do it. John said he took a huge hit from a bolt on I-81 that was kicked up from a car in front of him. Smacked my windshield hard. It was scratched, but did not crack. Couldn't believe it. Bottom passenger corner. For me, if that happened to me, I'd schedule that with SafeLight and have them come look at it, because those guys look at cracks all the time, right? And they're, they kind of know. The one that I got on my Subaru, the technician from SafeLight came out. He looked at it and said, "The second I touch that, it's going to crack." And he's like, "I could try, but if it cracks, you're going to have to replace the windshield." Like he made me sign something. And then sure enough, he put his thing on there. it just shot straight across. So no guarantee. Listen, he told me, I knew it was fine.
Do you have a deductible for glass?
500 is my glass deductible.
Massachusetts, no deductible for glass.
Wow.
So, you might as well get the stuff taken care of.
I'm moving, and I guess maybe I need to move to Mass.
What you saved there,
not worth it.
I don't think
you'd pay. Hey, let's dive into what you considered. Let me throw up the first one. Talk a little bit, and we'll roll through these. What'd you consider in the process of replacing them?
Not necessarily this Dune edition, but I had a look at the 2025 Rivian R1T. I always liked the look of that. It's a cool truck. It has plenty of range on it. Yeah, we got to find the gear tunnel, Jim. Scroll down. That was the most fun.
Gear tunnel. What does that mean?
See right there.
Right there?
Yeah, see the space between the cab and the bed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that flips down, and that's all interior storage.
Okay, nice.
So, I got to the point where I scheduled a drive of one of those, and then, I had joined all the various groups on Facebook and wherever to follow the progress, because this is the Gen 2 of the R1T. They were just coming out at that time, and boy, did they all seem to have problems.
Really?
Yeah. And I mean, often when they swap over, there's going to be some initial problems, but when I went to look at it, the service for that was going to be way more inconvenient than the service for the Tesla. Is down in Chelsea in the Boston area. So, anytime I wanted to have it serviced, I'd be dealing with a Boston commute to bring my car in and have
Yeah,
it.
and you're far enough away from Boston. That makes a difference, right?
It really does. I mean, if it was a bad morning where I had to get it there, it could be an hour and a half or more.
Yeah.
To drop it off. And
wait a minute, the Big Dig didn't fix that for you?
No.
All right.
No. And then what do? You drop it off and you get a loaner, and then you spend an hour and a half to get home. So that's 3 hours to drop your truck off.
And then you got to go back and do the same thing, right?
Probably at the afternoon rush hour time.
Right.
So,
They'll call you at 4. Hey, it's ready. Right. Come pick it up.
Honestly, I've owned pickup trucks before. I wasn't really looking for a pickup truck. I just liked the concept of this one. But once I saw the initial issues and started thinking about the service, I had to take that one off the table.
Okay. So that one's out. What's next?
Next, I had a look at the Lucid Air. And Lucid's got a lot going for it in terms of the range. And honestly, I'm more of a sedan guy than an SUV or a truck guy. So I thought I should have a look at this. And really, this was the newest version they came out with. To make it more affordable, they have a rear-wheel drive only one. When I say more affordable, this is still an $80,000 car. Mm-hmm. And then I looked at that, and again, it's a service problem. A lot of these new car companies, they don't have a big dealer network. They have their corporate service locations. And I really did not want to deal with a lot of service hassle this time around. I was sort of already feeling like with Tesla, I was kind of burnt out on this bring it in 3 weeks kind of thing. But beautiful car. I think the reviews on it are great, but
Tony says beautiful car. Someone at his daughter's school has one.
Yeah.
And I'm showing here's the interior. Is you're looking at the dash display, and then it's got the big display down and away from the driver.
Right.
Which seems a little, Tesla's all up front, right? All in eye range. You could just poke your eyes back up and you'd be on the
right. Right. And so, my guess would be that down there you'd have things like HVAC controls and all of that, and that's really taking your eyes off the road that screen.
It really is. I have that similar screen on my Legacy, but it's up higher, right? It's not far from the dash. It's still down. There's been a couple times I've went down to adjust my HVAC, the HVAC in there, and then the car's gone, letting me know someone stopped in front of me.
And you were in my Model 3. That screen is up.
Yeah.
Right. You're not not looking down to that, but
beautiful seats.
Nice.
Yeah.
They did a great job with it, but just not for me, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good look at that one. Still pretty pricey on that one. And only rear wheel drive, or did they
It's available in all-wheel drive, but then you're starting at probably closer to 90,000.
Okay. Okay.
And
There's
I
there's
don't need to be paying that for a car.
yeah. There's a good look at that screen. Beautiful screen, but it just
You know?
seems a little far away. And all of the HVAC controls digital. This has been
Yeah.
a big debate lately of like, do I get the controls? Like, I'd like most of my HVAC to be buttons, just to be 100% honest.
Yeah.
I don't want to be touching screens. So listen, the Subaru's had trouble with it's having trouble with. In fact, the warranty on that screen that I have just got
Mhm.
extended to 8 years. So they're obviously having trouble with it. From time to time it locks up. From time to time it does weird things. I know in the Tesla it probably never did that. But I don't want those controls on something that could just shut off in the middle of you driving,
I
right?
will say this about the Tesla, that their auto climate control
Yeah.
was phenomenal. I don't know if I touched it in 2 years' time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just set it to 70 and forget it.
Well, and maybe that's the future of HVAC in your car is you just set it and forget it. Like, do you need to be
Ideally,
messing
that would
around
be
with it?
great, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't always work out
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, right on. All right, what was next?
What do we got next? See, that's 2023, but I was looking at the 2025.
Sure.
Very similar look. And
And this is the
Genesis,
Genesis, right?
right, which is, Hyundai's
Yep.
luxury brand. Very nice looking car. They did a good job with it, aside from US makers. I think Kia Hyundai is doing some of the most interesting things with EVs. And I was going to go drive this till I realized that for some strange reason, I think the range on this is around 250 miles. It's still a $70,000 vehicle. And it just doesn't make any sense to me because, a lot of their Kia models are 300 plus miles of range. And, at 250, it starts to become a problem for me, right? Because they recommend charge it to 80%. Now I'm at 200
Right.
miles of range. Okay, let's throw winter on top of that. Now I'm at 150 or less, and it just didn't seem viable to me. But they're making gorgeous interiors in the Genesis now.
Well, I'm showing their dash. That looks like a fairly traditional dash, right? In there.
And I think they just came out with another one. Maybe it's the 2026 even. See, that's not bad, the charging.
Yeah, that's a good look. There's your white interior.
Yeah, I don't need a white interior, but they do a nice job with the interiors.
Yeah. Well, and it does look like it's kind of a combination of, physical controls. Looks like it's got dials, it's got some screen, and then it's either heads up display or that must be a narrow wide screen on the top.
I think that actually may retract into the dash on that one.
Yeah,
but I think there was sort of a difference between the ones who started ground up as an EV. Those tend to be the big screens, not many physical controls.
Yeah.
The traditional car makers sort of came at it from a different point of view, which is really, okay, how are we going to sell this to people that aren't tech nerds, right? And still want things in places where they would normally find them.
Yeah, I mean, for the average guy, so to speak, who hasn't been spending a lot of time, who may be in that ecosystem already, likes those cars, but wants to go electric, but wants to stay with it, or something similar, right? I mean, we were seeing some of these heads-up displays or some of these screens before the EV stuff started coming out, right? They were showing up.
They were starting to pop up and a lot of them started to pop up as smaller infotainment. That's all they were using it
Maps. For. Maps or Apple, Apple CarPlay or Android CarPlay. That's not what they call that, but anything else?
Auto.
Yeah, Android Auto. There you go. Thank you. Any other thoughts on this before we move on to the next one?
It just was a non-starter when I saw the range on it. I really wouldn't consider anything with fewer than 300 miles range.
My son works on these. So this is
On the
he's in a
Genesis?
Kia. He's works for a Kia Hyundai
Yeah.
shop. So he's a master mechanic for them. So he's got some insight into these. Sarah we would like. Listen, I appreciate you bringing up the range because that would be important for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
But she likes this. I think she likes this more physical design as opposed to a complete, massive screen in the middle of the car, so to speak. Right. So let's go to the next one.
The next one. This I never got too serious with, although this is probably getting the best reviews of the non-Tesla SUVs.
And for audio, this is the BMW
iX.
iX, yeah. What did I say? BMX? Did I say that? That's the bicycle?
Right, I considered that, Jim, but the range at
BMW.
But the problem with this is, number one, boy, that front grille is ugly.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what. You remember BMW always had the kind of kidney-shaped grille, and now they've sort of morphed it into something that, to my eye, is somewhat disturbing. But, part of it for this is, look at the price. It better be the best one for them.
90 to 115.
Yeah, and realistically, if you've ever gone through and configured BMWs, it's one of these where you get the MSRP, but then you got to add so many options to get what you want. That'd be for, if I configured it, it'd probably be in the 90s. I'm not sure I'm comfortable spending that kind of money on a vehicle.
Yeah. I'm trying to get to the display here. They're showing a lot of.
They should.
There we go. A little bit from the top. Let's scroll down. There we go. There's a display for you. There's the dash. Not a very big monitor in there. To be honest.
I think that's another display right in front of the driver that's partially hidden by the steering wheel. Yeah. But I don't know. BMW does usually a pretty nice interior.
They, when I lived in Germany back in the 80s, Mercedes, BMW, known for their traction, right? Those were cars that were built for the Autobahn. And in the 80s, the Autobahn, you could go fast. I'm not saying you can't go fast now, but that was the golden, for me. Well, maybe it's because I lived there, but it seemed to be the golden age of the Autobahn. It just seemed to be where vehicle engineering for speed and the place you could go unlimited came together in one place.
So when was that? 90s?
No, 80s, late 80s. So
late
80s. I got there in 86, left in 89.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time in Germany in the 80s working for a German computer company. And at that stage, all the German companies were making Autobahn cruisers. At one point we rented a Audi 100, and boy, that was an Autobahn cruiser. I think that might have been the fastest I ever drove, was 240 kilometers an hour on the Autobahn.
Yeah, it's crazy. That is unreal. As an American, never going faster. In the 80s, 65 or 70 was fast, right, for us. And I remember getting in a Mercedes. A buddy had rented, his car was in the shop for some work, and so he rented a Mercedes. And I remember going 110, 120 miles an hour, maybe 130 for the first time, and you could feel the car like drop into the road, like suck into the road. And I think I felt safer at 120 than I felt at 75.
Also, it was German drivers. They follow the rules.
That's true.
If you're not passing, you're not in that lane.
That's very true.
Because you could be going 120 miles an hour and a Porsche will come right up behind you in a hurry.
Yeah, flick the lights.
Get out of the way. They loved that light.
They really did.
Yeah.
They really did. Yeah. So Do you think for these EVs now, do you get so they're expensive? Do you get the suspensions that you're getting?
So
Are you the value of the suspension in these cars?
yeah, I mean, a lot of them are starting to use adaptive suspensions, air suspensions, essentially. So, Tesla does that on their Model S, Model X. I personally found the Model 3 a little bit stiff for my taste. That one is not an air suspension. And you're going to feel all the road imperfections, of which we have plenty in my area. There,
Yeah, we do in Omaha too.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
that was somewhat of a consideration for me. As I'm looking through things, I actually wanted how shall we say, better riding, more luxurious interior.
Yeah.
I know the Teslas are categorized as luxury vehicles. I don't know. They feel kind of Spartan to me.
Okay.
I mean, they're feature-rich vehicles, but I'd have trouble calling the Model 3 a luxury vehicle.
Yeah. Well, even based on all the examples we've seen, and you drove an Audi before you drove this one, right? And so maybe would you feel like that's a step down in the luxury when you think about what's available in those cars?
You mean from Audi to
Tesla? Yeah. Did you take a step down? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I always felt like, okay, well, you're not getting quite the luxury level.
Yeah.
Now, what you are getting are, a boatload of features.
Yeah.
And the tech was great.
Pretty amazing tech, right?
Yeah.
But it does seem like it. We got one more that you looked at. Let's look at that one.
All right. And this is the Acura ZDX. So Acura is sort of the luxury brand of Honda. And, I was looking at this, and this is what really led me to the next one. Because when you start to look at Honda and really Toyota, really the Japanese brands were falling woefully behind in the EV market because I think they just didn't believe in it. I think Toyota was chasing hydrogen for a while. Honda seemed to be mostly just in denial.
Well, they had their hybrid line for a long time, still do, but denial is a great word.
Toyota, right? But they were sort of sticking with that and saying, we believe hybrid's really the way to go. It's interesting, though, when I started digging into this vehicle, it's actually built on the GM Ultium platform. This is a GM vehicle, all accurate up. But, then as I started to look at it, I said, okay, well, now that's interesting. But I think this is kind of a one and done partnership with GM while they were starting to develop vehicles of their own.
Sure. Something to get something out there.
Right. So I started to say to myself, well, okay, it meets most of my requirements, but do I want to be in a one and done?
Yeah, right.
Right. How's the service going to be over time?
Yeah.
And really, they don't have, obviously, as much EV experience. So, you can run into trouble with the traditional guys, too. You say to yourself, well, they got a lot of convenient dealerships near me. Yeah, they might have one EV guy on their staff. So, I think some of that's changed at least at Chevrolet. They've got quite a few EVs on the road now.
Yeah, and Tim, where my son, where he works, they have a couple, and he's qualified in it. So they're doing. I think they're doing more.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I think you're right. And as we're looking at the dash of this, it's very traditional looking, right? I mean, pop-up display, probably comes out of the dash and then comes up, right? When you start the car, that probably
Yeah,
goes
that would be
down.
my guess.
Yeah.
No,
And then 100% physical dials for your HVAC. Like, I mean, it could not be. No, if you like that, I mean, that works, but
mhm.
this looks very traditional to me, when we think about a car. If you're comfortable with that, like great. There you go. Now it was 320, right? I think 320 miles on the range on something like this,
Yeah,
plus
it was in
500 horsepower. Yeah.
325. Yeah.
Did you have a range before we look at what you picked? Did you have a range what's your minimum?
300
Okay.
in my head. If it's 290, well, okay, maybe. But
Yeah.
when I was seeing 250, it just seemed not to be where I wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So any other, when you think of things like, does the dash matter? Did the dash matter for you? I mean, we already talked about upholstery, and you were looking for something maybe a little more
plush.
premium,
Yeah.
like just a little bit more. Anything else along those lines that you were looking for in this next vehicle?
No, it was sort of, I'll know it when I see it.
Okay.
And Tony says he sat in the Honda Prologue, which is also built on GM's platform.
Mm.
And they're selling actually pretty well, the Honda. Once you put the Honda name on a GM, then it'll sell better.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine most of the traditional car makers are going to have better interior. They've been doing it a lot longer, right?
Yeah.
And,
I mean, when you look at it, I think Tesla they were going for that aesthetic in those vehicles, very minimal. So I think that either appeals to you or it doesn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't my favorite, but for me at that point, it was sort of a trade-off of, well, the tech is great in this car.
Yeah.
Because even if you go back 4 years ago, nobody was close even 4 years ago. The gap has closed quite a bit in those 4 years.
Yeah. Well, the fact that you bought something other than a Tesla tells me there are some, and you and I talked about this a bunch.
Yeah.
That there are some. I mean, you and I have been talking about this over the last couple months. It was a few months ago when we first started talking about it. But as you were explaining this, I mean, you were telling me things like, that's okay. That's interesting.
It's getting, I mean, everybody's getting a little bit better. The Tesla's moving in smaller increments, but they were already ahead of everybody.
Right.
Yeah, and even our friend Aaron drove an EV, right?
Yeah.
I think that was the Kia EV9, which is
she really liked it. Okay. We've stalled long enough, Ed. Let's drum roll, right? What'd you pick up?
All right. This is the Cadillac Lyriq, which is built on the same platform as that Acura ZDX. So basically the same innards. And what I like better about this, and this is going to be a sort of matter of personal taste, I happen to like the styling of it. I think it's fairly unique looking, and really, when you look at it, it is classified as an SUV. It seems more like a wagon to me, a souped up wagon than an SUV. Crossover.
Yeah.
So, that was one plus. I like the styling. And again, so many of the manufacturers now don't seem to have interesting colors anymore. And so I liked the color palette on this one.
Which is green, but it's a forest green, evergreen. What's the name of it?
Emerald Lake is what it's called.
Emerald Lake. It's a dark green, right? Almost looks black at night, right?
Yep. And then in the sun, you'll see sort of the emerald color. Nice enough rims on it. I'm not a fan of big wheels, but it came with 20-inch wheels. I think I didn't even upgrade the wheels on the Model 3 I had. The 18s are fine. I think for me, big wheels give you worse ride and more trouble. Although with the suspension in this, they did not go adaptive suspension on this, but it's a very good suspension, very comfortable ride.
I mean, what's Cadillac known for, right? The ride. It's got to be a good ride, right?
It's plush. I saw one reviewer calling it a luxury barge. So I kind of like that.
It's like the Buick of
Yeah.
right.
So they've got 33-inch LED wraparound screen that we see there. It's kind of broken into 3 sections. All the way on the left is a couple simple menu control things for things like headlights and that sort of thing, although generally just leave it on auto. There's a whole bunch of different configurations for the driver display side. And then all the apps and stuff are over on the right side there. Now, as of right now, my model has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but GM's moving away from those. So I don't know if future versions will have it. They got rid of it on all the Chevys now, I think, except maybe the Corvette. But they're phasing out Apple.
Wow, that's bold.
Bold. Yeah. This isn't Android Auto. It's a version of Android they're running. And they have a good integration with Google Maps. So I'm just using Google Map for
on your iPhone.
No. In the car.
Oh, in the car. So you're not even plugging your phone in, or are you?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not a big Apple CarPlay guy.
Okay.
I mean, usually all I listen to is podcasts in the car.
Yeah.
Do I need the whole Apple car? No, Bluetooth is fine for me.
Is the car connected all the time? Does it have its own service plan, or are you using
it? Does.
Okay.
It does. I think you get first 3 years for free.
Okay.
And then I haven't checked into what the charges are. Yeah. So, you know, in the price of the car, you get the hotspot, all of that stuff, and there's all your HVAC control.
Yeah, 100% buttons there on that one.
100% buttons.
Is there a charging in the Tesla? There was a place you could drop your phone and it would queue or whatever.
This one it doesn't have the 2 bays for it. It's actually in the armrest. So
I just lost the picture.
Oh man, we had pictures.
I know. How do I get back to that? Do you think summary?
Was that when you clicked on the actual image of the car?
Yeah, and I zoomed into it, and then when I picked it up, it disappeared.
Right, but I think if you click on that image, doesn't it bring up the view?
Oh, there we go, and then interior view. There we go. Okay, thanks, Ed. Good thing I have a tech guy here.
You see where the cup holders are, and the way that's angled.
Yeah.
You can't see it from that angle, but there's a drop-in charger there. So it's a one phone thing, but what I like about it is they actually have active cooling in there.
Oh, nice.
Because if anybody's used some of these chargers in a car, almost always they're going to tell you at around 80%. It's too hot now. I'm not going to charge anymore right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right about that. You are right about that. Mine's on up by the dash, and if it's a warm day,
it does not like it, right?
Hey, yeah, I don't like that at all. What color interior did you pick on?
Mine's a black interior with still got that same blue piping that you see in the middle of the seat there.
Mm-hmm. Are these do the headrests have cooling or heating coming out of them? They look, or speakers? What's that?
Those are speakers. So This, if you get the level 2 model, which I did, it's a 17 speaker AKG stereo system
Oh my God.
with,
For your podcasts.
with active noise cancellation.
Oh, okay.
And,
That for the road, or obviously, right, for the road.
yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
for the road noise.
And this is not a small vehicle. Its dimensions are about the same size as the Model X, so you get pretty good space in the rear seat.
Mm-hmm.
And the storage is adequate. I don't think it's best in class for cubic feet of storage, but more than I need.
What's been your so you've had this for a month? Is that are we
Probably about a month is fair, because it may be a little longer, but I've been away a couple times
Yeah.
in the time I've had it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I've had enough time with it. I think I've got about 1,600 miles on it now.
Okay.
And I sort of came up with a list of comparison with Tesla. What's better on Tesla, and what is this one doing better than Tesla? And clearly, the Tesla app is in a whole different world from the Cadillac app. I mean, these guys are car makers. Software kind of secondary on this. Does it work? Usually. I can remote start my car, and that's the main function I use. But I think the thing I may miss the most is being able to use my phone as a key. I didn't carry a key fob for 4 years, and they do not have that on the Cadillac. Here's a strange one that I just got so used to is the Tesla automatically turns off the turn signal. Right. So I think it's part of the FSD. And why can't it? It knows when you've completed the turn, right? So even if you're moving over a lane on the highway, it knows when you're done doing that. And so now I found myself a couple times in the Cadillac. I'm like the old man in the Cadillac. The blinker's just on, because that wasn't a thing I thought
Blinkers
about
on.
for
Blinkers on.
a number of years.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
My kids remind me that sometimes. Dad, your blinkers on. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Turn it off.
So Tesla will charge faster. If I remember right, the max charge rate on the Lyriq is 190 kilowatt, I think. But I could be wrong, but I'm not a road tripping guy, so it doesn't make a ton of difference to me. The Tesla UI is clearly superior. I find that to accomplish similar tasks, I may need an extra click or two on the Cadillac. The Tesla was faster, although this car is still 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds, so it's not slow or anything. It's sort of interesting too, the way they've tuned it. It does not give you the neck snapping acceleration. It sort of doesn't kick you in the teeth with the lowest end torque, but it picks up very rapidly. I think it would scare the old people, if
For sure it would. Yeah. You're going to hurt them. You're going to break some ribs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say I miss the Tesla buying process. That was pretty sweet. None of the haggling, none of the nonsense, right? Folks are asking the range on it. It's an all-wheel drive. It's 315 miles of range for that car. I think if it matters, 515 horsepower for the dual motor. So, it's not a slug or anything.
Would you try to tow with it?
I probably wouldn't, although I
No.
think there is a tow rating on it. I haven't checked it. So I think
that has been the Cybertruck's gotten hammered for its towing, right? I mean, that's just
don't pieces fall out? No, that's just driving. The towing is a different.
Yes, exactly. Anyways, we're not here to talk about the Cybertruck.
No, we don't want to be mean to the Cybertruck.
Cybertruck.
Tesla somehow in the cabin had more storage. If you remember the interior picture, it had the armrest and then just kind of an empty space almost down at the floor level.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Tesla had covered storage in two different spots. This just has it in the armrest which Tesla had, but then they had a sliding door with more storage, right?
There's a center console down low there. It looks like it's got a bar to open that up. Is that a sunglasses holder, or is that just like a glove compartment? Or
it's a small compartment.
Okay.
You could probably get some sunglasses in it.
Something like that, or whatever.
Something like that.
Put your phone in there. Cords, cables, that kind of stuff.
That kind of junk.
Sure.
But I think Tesla did a little better with places to put things in the cabin, but I don't know, maybe I just have too many things. And the surprising thing is
you've got cigars and lighters.
I got cutters, I got lighters, I got things.
You got stuff. You have important things.
The interesting thing is, that's a 17 speaker AKG audio system in there. And the Tesla one was better on the Tesla Model 3 long range. I think their entry level system, which they had in a rear wheel drive, was kind of crap. But Tesla did a really good job on the audio systems in their car. I forget where they hired all the people away from. Might have been Harman Kardon or somewhere. But
that makes sense.
Yeah. They got a whole bunch of hardcore audio engineers to put that together. Unfortunately, Tesla wins for their dash cam Sentry mode since the Cadillac does not have it. No. They talk about it as a future feature. I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully no one's coming to vandalize my car, so I don't need it as much. Tesla's nailed the over-the-air updates.
Yeah.
Cadillac's still working on that, although I did get one this past week and it installed fine. Tesla's also got the infotainment win because, you've got YouTube, Netflix, etc. just built in, which I don't know, for most people, do they care? You might want to watch a YouTube while you're charging or something. It wasn't the end of the world for me.
Right.
But I would say, that's about it for the Tesla wins. They had a lot of wins.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, I think sometimes you make a decision like this, you try to tear down the other one to justify what you're doing. So I think you did a nice job. Those all make sense.
No, I love the Model 3. Like I say, it was just time for a change.
Right.
Okay, on the Cadillac side, it wins on just the luxury of it. The seats are great.
It's comfortable, right? I mean,
the seats are, heated, ventilated massage seats. Massage is a little questionable, but whatever. The ride there's no ride comparison. The Cadillac is way better. Now, having said that, the Cadillac's not meant to be a sporty car. So, like, if you want to go carve up mountain roads, the Cadillac's not the car for you. Although they are coming out with, Cadillac souped up stuff or V series. In 2026, they're going to come out with a V series of the Lyriq, which I'm sure will be much better tuned with a sport suspension. Cadillac wins on auto windshield wipers, which are a disaster on Tesla. I think this was an Elon theory that you could do it with cameras instead of rain sensors. So sometimes I'm going into blinding sun and my windshield wipers are scraping across a dry windshield. So I just never thought that the auto wipers quite got dialed in on that Tesla. Listen, I wanted some blind spot monitoring again. I want an indicator in the side view mirror. I mean, Tesla semi-addressed that by, you put the blinker on, and on the screen, it shows you a view from the camera in the mirror. But, more often than not for blind spot, it's the left side that I care about. I'm moving over in a lane on the highway. So now I put my blinker on. In the Tesla, I have to look away from the mirror in order to, see that blind. A little light is all I need, so I much prefer just having an indicator.
Most cars do. That's the standard, right? It's just a light on your mirror that says, hey, it's flashing or whatever. Says there's somebody in your blind spot, right? It's pretty easy.
And generally the blind spot is not terribly big if you actually have your mirrors adjusted appropriately. Most people tend to have a portion of their mirror showing them the side of the car.
Right.
Believe me, it's there.
Yeah.
You don't need
just need a little bit of it. You just need a little bit. That's all you need.
You actually don't need any of it. You just have to know that you've captured.
Right.
You're up against the side, but we don't need to see it. It's there, Jim.
Right. Yes.
I like the styling better. It's more unique, but that's
when you say styling, you mean the outside styling of it? Yeah.
I mean, that's a personal preference thing. For me, I didn't really think I wanted to get another of the Model 3. Well, first off, he got rid of the stalks on the steering wheel, although they may be coming back. That was a step too far for me. It just, I don't want to be pressing buttons on my steering wheel to indicate lane changes.
Right.
But the other thing too is I feel like there's too many of them around now. I like to have something that's a little different from everything on the road.
Yeah.
And, I think over time, man, they're just not making many changes to the models. I mean, I don't know, Model 3, maybe 2018, 6 years. It's due for a big change, but then look at the Model S, 2012. Looks pretty damn similar 13 years later. So I guess they find something they like and they stick with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've been doing other things to the car too, right? They've been trying to get that self-driving working.
Listen,
right. Yeah. So
that's true.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no comparison on fit and finish between these vehicles. Where Tesla wins big time on the software, Cadillac wins big time on the fit and finish of the vehicle.
The actual hardware.
Right. To be fair, Tesla has improved significantly over time. They're just still not there, or maybe they don't intend to get to that level. There is a theory that, you can make things better than they need to be in order to sell the vehicles. The Cadillac is way quieter on the interior. I think 100 years of figuring out luxury sound deadening is really helpful. I'm not even sure what the impact of the active noise cancellation is.
Right.
I'll have to play with that a little bit, but it probably helps to some degree. Then we come to FSD versus Super Cruise. So Tesla's got their full self-driving on city streets, right? So you can turn that on anywhere, even on, my dark, almost one-lane road that leads to my house. What I found my own experience, and I know this varies a lot depending on the roads you're driving on. Man, I couldn't use it at all on back roads. It'd only take it driving for about a minute until it hit a giant pothole somewhere. It does not detect those. And it really made me nervous the way it drove. Like, part of it is where I drive. There's a pretty significant curve in a 1.5 lane road, and it would decide to take the middle of that road to go around the blind curve.
Right.
That's not the way I would approach it. So I found that this isn't solving a problem for me. It's just making me very anxious. Now, having said that, the Tesla was great on the highway. No problems with it there. And the GM Super Cruise is, I think, equally good on the highway. However, they need the area mapped so it's not available everywhere. And I think it may just be divided roads where they've mapped it at all. But, I think overall, I wasn't using the FSD on city streets. So no net loss for me there.
Right. And for me, I like driving. So I wouldn't want city street full self-driving. I'm not interested in that.
No, I'm fine with adaptive cruise control. Because I don't want to be arguing with the car about whether I want it to change lanes or not change lanes.
No, and it's enough. I'm one of those guys that would be sleeping at the wheel if I didn't have anything to do. Like, I need a little bit of, I kind of need to be engaged in it. And I like the adaptive cruise and the lane assist that comes with my car. I really like. And it gives me enough that I'm relaxed when I'm driving, in the old cars, you'd have to be paying attention 100% of the time, right? This really, with adaptive cruise, it really sets it up nicely. So would full self-driving be great? Yeah, maybe. I would only use it on the freeway, just to be honest.
Well, then are you doing much more than using the adaptive cruise control?
No, right on. And, John says in chat, he uses his, doesn't surprise me. He uses his every single drive. And great. Awesome. I actually like to drive, and I like to be in control of it. And so, it is, and John says, people who not you, Jim, say they like driving. I see 50% heads down on their phones every time they're out on the road. I'm not going to lie. Even on full self-driving, if your eyes are not on the road, there's a problem. Right. You're not on a train. You're in a car, and there's lots of things that can happen on the road, things falling into it, children running across it. I don't know. Yeah, and you say this to me, Ed, all the time. There's other drivers who don't have full self-driving. That
Right.
is the problem, right? They're the problem.
Yeah.
And so I'm not skeptical. Listen, maybe there's a day when this is gonna work well.
Yeah.
But for today, I'm a control freak. I want to be in control of my car.
Well,
I actually like to drive.
yeah, I don't know how deep
Yeah.
into it they are yet, but how many times have you been driving down the road and you see somebody way up ahead and you say, I got to be careful with that person.
For
They're
sure.
drifting all the time. And
Yeah.
at least last time I was in the Tesla, it doesn't think like that. It's still going to pass. And
Mhm.
listen, maybe it'll move over when the other car drifts into the lane, hopefully. But
Yeah.
some of it is about being proactive when you're driving.
Yeah. No, listen, everybody comes to this in their own way. So I'm not saying you got to like it or you got to do it that way or full self-driving isn't the future. I think it is. I don't think it's today because I don't think it's effective until we get 100% of the cars out there using, like, I'd love to live in a world where every car knew what every other car was doing right around it. And I'd love to live in a world where I could program that in and know that those cars know what the other cars are doing and I could get there safely. I'd be fine with that. In Nebraska, there's just too many. There's just not enough, right? And so that's just, for me, that's just not my. That's just not. Ed, anything else? You've got some accessories that we're going to cover. I think I'm going to have you back on because I think talking through some of the accessories that you bought, some of the things that you've got, I think that's a whole nother show. Are you okay with that?
It could be. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think there's some, like, the things we put in our car. I was just thinking about this the other day.
Yeah.
Because I knew you were coming on. I was looking in my back seat, like, what do I have in here? Like, what have I put in my car?
Probably have more than you thought you did. Right?
I did. I have a whole bucket in the back of the car that's just got a bunch of things in it that you're like, why do I keep these? Oh, that's why. So we'll have you.
Air pressure gauges. You need one of those in the car.
Yeah. Well, there's some tools, like, as you and I won't give it away, but as you and I were talking about this on Sunday, you talked about a tool that I was like, I never thought about keeping one of those in my car.
Well,
and so we'll talk about that.
Yeah, the final plus. Yeah, and we did talk about. I like the sunroof, and it is full panoramic glass on this as well, all the way front to back. But what the Cadillac has that I love is it's got a power shade. So you press a button and the power shade comes. And you can stop that anywhere along the way. So if you just want to cover the roof for the back seats all the way up to.
Is it in between the glass? Or I didn't realize this had a full glass top.
Oh, yeah. Glass all the way.
Is it in between? Is it like, how does that, is it on tracks? Like, I was afraid that thing a kid would rip that thing out.
Yeah, no. So there's a space that accommodates it between the headliner and the glass roof.
Okay.
And, it'll retract and store back behind. There are some now that have some of that magic glass, that will actually adapt to block out more of the sunlight.
Yeah.
But this one is just plain old-fashioned barrier.
Just a something that comes out and blocks the sun. Yeah. It would be cool if it would frost, like, the old.
They have those now, though.
Yeah.
Some of the high end.
It's not new technology, right?
No.
We have offices that do that kind of stuff, but that's super cool. Yeah. Tony's like, okay, Blade Runner, when I was talking about everybody knowing where everybody else is going. Yeah, I think that's what he was talking about. And John said, full self-driving has, no kidding, saved me from 4 accidents that would have happened if I was driving. Well, then, John, you're not a very good driver.
Harsh words.
Just kidding. Now I have to do a retraction on the next podcast no, John's here. I was just kidding, John.
The other thing that It wasn't a deal breaker, but I do prefer to have LiDAR, which Tesla has moved away from. Now, my 2021 had it, and I don't know. I've seen, and maybe Tesla's improved it, but for quite some time after they removed it for their vision only, it didn't seem very good at gauging distances to objects.
Okay.
Right, because when I had my LiDAR, if I was pulling up, to a wall, for example, it very accurately told me how many inches I was away from that wall. And
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's been harder for them to accomplish with vision only.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched that YouTube video where somebody set up like a Roadrunner wall.
No.
So,
No.
just
No.
a big wall with the painting of what the road
Yeah.
would look like. And
Oh. Did it just drive right into the wall?
The Tesla did, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know, and then there's all the back and forth. Well, that's not fair, and blah, blah, blah. Well, the more interesting part of that was the part of the video where the guy snuck LiDAR into Space Mountain at Disney. And it's not easy to get through the Disney
Right.
security, but he wanted to map what it really looks like in that dark building. And man, they got a nice map and then fed all the data into a 3D printer and printed a model of all those
of everything.
tracks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you say that just Tuesday night, I was down in Lincoln and parking in a garage. For some reason, I've become a terrible parker in the Legacy. I can't park that thing straight. It doesn't, like, I park by feel and I can't feel it. And there's one mode, and maybe Tesla's got this, but I wish there was a parking mode where I could just like, hey, I'm coming in. I don't need to be the one parking. I'm going slow.
Right.
Can you put it in between the lines and get 3 inches from
played with any of that yet on either car, because I mean, last time I looked at it, the problem seems to be, they can do it, but they're very slow about it.
Oh, for sure, they're slow.
If anybody's around, they are going to be pretty irritated while the car's figuring out how it wants to do
it's
that.
like the ones that do parallel parking. They're not very fast. They go pretty slow.
They're very methodical, let's say that. But, I mean, that's been a challenge too, because I'm not used to a car the size of the Lyriq. It's quite a bit bigger than.
Is it wider?
Oh, a good 6, maybe even 8 inches wider.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is, I'm kind of liking that too. More shoulder room, more spacious.
Yeah. Well, in the Honda Civic was much narrower than, an 06 Civic. And then I get into a 2021 Legacy, and that's a wide car. I mean, it's comfortable. Like, it's not your kind of comfortable, but it's comfortable for me. And maybe that's why I'm having trouble parking it, because it's just for years. I mean, I drove that car for 15 years, and just maybe because it's bigger, I'm having trouble,
John Biggs says the South Park is fast now. It's better.
Okay, good.
And I know they were working on it. There was a point in time where it didn't seem usable.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm sure that just gets better. And I think some of those things are going to come to the rest of the cars too. But no, it's good. Ed, thanks for we've really spent some time not trying to, which is happening a lot these days, trash one and support the other.
I loved my Tesla. This is just a different thing.
Yeah.
No,
I'll look forward to making my way to Boston at some point. Maybe I'll get a chance to.
Hey, you get a ride in
that one too. Yeah, no, we got to ride in that thing for sure.
It's not going to snap your neck back, but it'll get us where we're going.
Listen, I will never forget that moment that we were coming back from something, and you're like, Chef is in the back seat and you punch it. And I thought I was going to another planet. At that point, I could not pull my head forward. And I'm like, ooh, Ed, this is a little much.
Well, for a while on my list of what I needed in a new car, I kept thinking, well, it's got to be faster than the one I have. I need better than 3.7. And then I realized, I think the last time I floored my Tesla was when you were in the car. I mean, it really, for that kind of thing, it seemed more like a party trick than something that I needed.
Yeah. Well, when I went from the Honda Civic Hybrid to the Legacy, and I had power again. I mean, listen, I gave the Honda Civic to my daughter, and she complained about the speed, and she struggles. I mean, she didn't want a very fast car, but when I could put the gas pedal down and pass somebody reasonably safe, I thought, this is really nice. I forgot because that Civic was just, it was a gutless wonder. That thing is a miracle. I mean, I got great gas mileage on it, but it was
one more thing I preferred in the Tesla.
Yeah.
That you could just get in the car and put it in drive and go.
Yeah.
The Lyriq's got a start-stop button, which is totally unnecessary.
No, that's a callback.
Well, yeah, I think that is more to bridge the gap for, the non-technical people. But I'm here. I got my key fob instead of my phone. I'm with John on that. It was fun for a little while, and then after you showed all your friends how fast it was, you didn't need it. No.
Yeah, you never needed it again.
I think.
Although when I get on the interstate here, coming out of Bellevue, and I'm going north to Omaha, it's uphill. You get on the interstate, it's uphill, and notoriously, I do not know why everyone on that ramp is going slow. And you're merging in. I love to kick it out in the left lane and punch it. That would have been an awesome opportunity to do the boost, right?
Listen, even the regular one, I think was, if I remember right, it was 4.2 seconds. I mean, it's still going to get you ahead of the traffic. It's not.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Ed, anything else?
No, I think it's been a fun time, Jim.
Yeah, no, it's been good. I appreciate you walking
into any politics, because guess what? Technology is not political.
Very true. Very true. Well, I appreciate you doing that with me. We'll when we post show, not in the post show, but post show, I'll get you scheduled for the next one. I got some openings, and we'll figure out what works for you.
We'll bring prepared for it.
Yeah, well, it's all done. Like, we might as well do it. Let's talk about. I mean, I think you've got some. And this wouldn't pertain to just EVs. I'm looking at this right now, and this is every car.
EV specific.
Yeah, some accessories that you can't live. You can't live without. So, Ed, thanks for staying up. I know normally you're in bed by now, and you're
usually reading in bed.
Okay. Well, this is snoozing. Can you hang around for just a second as I close this thing up? A couple reminders on the way. One, big thanks to John and Kevin and I saw Tony out there a little bit earlier, and Ken jumped in there with the great comments tonight. Appreciate you guys. I've been building this show up for a while just because I was excited to talk about it. It was good conversation around that. And so thanks for coming out. If you want to join the Discord group, and some of you have, jump in there, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. It's not a big commitment. I post the live shows when we change the time of the live shows or whatever. There's some good, deals are out there. So it's not a lot of work and not a lot of maintenance. So if you want to join us, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. And then don't forget the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust, and that's Christian. In fact, I know I don't have Christian coming back because he's having a baby. Like, it's coming anytime. It may have already happened. No, I don't know. But he is out on, he will be out for a while on paternity leave. But If you want more information about Maple Grove Partners, check it out today, maplegrovepartners.com. You can always contact me, jim@theaverageguy.tv. And love your emails, love your feedback. I've been getting some really good feedback lately, so I appreciate you guys and you guys checking in and doing that. Over the next couple weeks, Marv B is joining me next week. That's always fun to have Marv on. And then, Ed, you mentioned it, and this is your favorite guest, Erin Lawrence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's great.
Because I don't know what to buy until she tells me.
She says it, you buy it, right? Is that the way it works?
Yeah, if I hadn't already ordered the Cadillac, I'd probably be driving an EV9 now, you know?
Yeah, Erin does a great job. She's super fun to have on. She'll be on the 17th. The 24th, Uyghur is back. And then I got Gavin Campbell coming back on the 8th. And then Mark Robson is coming on May 15th, barbecue and grill show.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the big barbecue and grill show. So it'll be about that time, mid-May, getting the grills out, starting to think about the summer stuff.
We don't do the lawn anymore since you gave up on it, right?
Well, Ed, I've been thinking about getting back into the lawn this year.
All right.
I don't know. So you might hear some robot lawnmower stuff coming in. And then TJ Huddleston's coming back on the 29th of May. So we got a bunch of shows ahead for you. If you're listening to the podcast, come out on a Thursday night, usually 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. Tonight we did it at 7. I did that for Ed so we could get it done a little bit early. We may move to that time. I'm getting some pretty positive comments about 7 p.m. So that might become an option. But join us out here live, theaverageguy.tv/live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. And we'll do it again next week as Marv joins me. For those listening live, thanks for coming out. We'll do and Jim Shoemaker's out there as well. Jim, thanks for checking in. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming out. And we'll do just a super short post show because I need to get talking to Ed. We need to get him to bed anyways. So with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.